Restaurants, hotels, and other businesses have continued to operate in a balancing act of sorts, promoting public safety while maintaining their bottom line. Here to talk about where the industry is and its recovery and to forecast the near future is John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. John, thanks for being back with us.
Thanks for having me again.
Appreciate having you on. So more than half of restaurant operators expect recruiting and retaining employees to be their top challenge here in 2022. Are we starting to see that labor in the restaurant industry and lodging is still a huge problem? Is it starting to improve? Where is it at right now?
It's not good. I wish I could say that, it was starting to improve, but actually we just had a Capitol Day here in Lansing yesterday and had about 100 members in town to meet with their legislators and sort of discuss the state of the industry. And the number one issue that came up in every single meeting was labor force. And they're doing everything they can to try to get people to come to work, but they're having still a very, very hard time getting people to come. And what's even worse is sometimes they'll get someone for a shift or two, and then that person will just stop showing up.
And so give us an insight on just how that does affect these businesses, because even the most successful restaurant or the most successful hotel that's able to maintain itself financially, if they don't have the staff in place, that has significant impact on the way they operate their business and then ultimately their bottom line. What are some of those impacts that it has on just their day-to-day operations?
So the impacts on day-to-day are they're having to, close on certain days, or maybe, not offer breakfast, or, just close certain sections of the restaurant, or force servers to, some servers maybe had 3 or 4 tables. Now they're taking 7 or 8. So, people might walk in and say, oh man, that restaurant's busy, the industry's back. That is incredibly not true. What people don't see is, one, maybe they're dining in prime time on a Friday night, but what they don't see is the Tuesday night when restaurants are, still kind of empty, but also restaurants make money on table turns. And if you have a person who's doing 7 or 8 tables, there's probably going to be a wait, and people might want to wait, and then, they're just not going to turn that table 3-4 times, a meal like they're used to doing. They might turn it twice. So still a lot of way to go to build this industry back. And labor force is going to be one of them. And then the supply chain stabilizing is going to be another one.
We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association on the Michigan MegaCast. More information on the program on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. And so what are restaurants and what are hotels doing at this time? And in the past, there's been a number of incentives. There's been signing bonuses. There's been increased base wages and so on. There's been a number of different incentives that have been thrown out there over the last several months, really the last year, to try to get people to fill these jobs. What have our restaurants and our hotel businesses found to be those incentives that work, and how are they modifying their approach to continue to try to attract people to these jobs?
So I would say I think the incentives are largely gone. And some of those worked and some of those didn't. It was a valiant effort. But right now, what people are doing is trying to change laws to make it so that, younger kids can work. You have 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are eager and want to work and, want some spending money. But, the process for doing that is slightly more complicated. So, for example, there's a bill sponsored by Representative Michelle Hoytinga, who represents the Cadillac area, that would allow 17-year-olds, to run an alcoholic drink to a table. Currently, state of Michigan, it's 18. But we are working with her in order to change that to try to allow people to enter the workforce and do different things they previously couldn't do at a younger age. Because those are the kids who are saying, "I'll show up. I want to work. I want to make money." So it's going to be changing, but I think we're probably still 6 months to a year away from this labor force stabilizing. The labor force in Michigan and the hospitality industry is still about 60,000 people shy of where it was pre-COVID.
And so, John, as much as the labor issue can cause problems for these restaurants, ultimately, as you said, it's about turning these tables over. It's about bringing customers in to buy these products, and that ultimately go to funding these businesses and keeping them alive. We've seen in the past where COVID-19 has surged, and there's been a significant reduction in the number of people that have gone to restaurants, and then, of course, the period of time earlier on in the pandemic, in the early portions of the pandemic, when restaurants were closed to in-person dining altogether. At this time, what is the state of in-person dining? Are we finding that Michiganders are going back out to restaurants in more normal succession, especially given that the most recent surge of COVID-19 has significantly relaxed and it seems like we're heading in a good direction?
I think we're headed in a good direction, and I would say I think we are. I think that day is hopefully coming, but right now you're still seeing a lot of takeout, and you're seeing a lot of people who are, would prefer to eat outside, which is hopefully going to be a reality sooner later than later here in Michigan. But you're still seeing people utilize igloos, the outdoor heaters, the sort of greenhouse type of places. So there are some people who are ready to get right back, but there is still definitely a sect of the population that is still somewhat nervous about dining indoors. And all we can do is keep stressing that before COVID, the main goal of restaurants was to have as clean of a restaurant as possible. During COVID, obviously some of that stepped up, but these places were vanguards of safety and health before, and continue to want to be able to do that. But it's just going to take some time, I think, for public trust to come back in that sector.
We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. More information on the website, including career opportunities in the restaurant industry and in the hotel industry here in Michigan, on the website mrla.org. That is mrla.org to learn more information and get in contact with Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association. So on the hotels front, John, lodging is a critical industry in the state of Michigan for our tourist industry, especially in the summer months and in the fall months, which are peak season for tourism here in the Great Lakes state. Now, where are our hotels at in their economic recovery from the effects of the pandemic? It's a different ballgame than it is with restaurants, but there are some similar wrinkles in there that are affecting hotels in similar ways and in very different ways than our restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, the hotels, as I've said before, the hotels are the ones that really got lost in all of this, because their economic outlook is just as bleak in some areas as it is for the restaurant side of what I do day to day in this association. Business travel is still very, very, very slow. I was in a hotel 2 weekends ago on business, and they were thrilled I was there 2 nights. The one night business travel is largely gone, and I think some of that business travel may never come back, because I think companies have looked at bottom lines and said, well, if we can do this over Zoom and conference calls, why spend the time and money? And it can be far more efficient. Leisure travel, I'm hoping this summer is going to be back to normal. Obviously, Northern Michigan in the summer, in my opinion, is one of the best places in the world to be. So hopefully we have another robust tourism season up north. They are definitely ready for it. But hotels are having just as much trouble. The housekeeping side is very tough. There's a lot of hotels who, in some instances, could fill rooms at capacity, but are now not doing it simply because they don't have people to be able to even clean the rooms every second or third day. So continuing to work there. The H-2B and the J-1 visas at the federal level are very, very important for the hotel industry. And luckily, Congress realizes that, and the Michigan delegation realizes that. And Congresswoman Slotkin and Senator Stabenow have both been very helpful on that front to try to increase the number of H-2B and J-1 visas that are issued. Typically, there's about 30-ish thousand issued. Right now, there's about applications for 130. So there are people who are wanting to come here and wanting to fill these jobs. It's just getting the correct mechanisms in place to allow them to do so.
Yeah, and then that will be critical for the hotel industry, for the restaurant industry, and for other industries, too, that are looking to fill these jobs that Americans,
Absolutely,
for one reason or another, are not clamoring to fill, despite having great opportunities in these industries. If we're allowing more people to come in on visas and we're expediting that process to allow good people that are willing to work these jobs, to come in. That's going to be a big help for everyone across the board in our economy. We're joined by John McNamara, Vice President of the of Government Affairs at the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, with us on the MegaCast. More information on their website, mrla.org. That's mrla.org. Last month, the MRLA formed the Hospitality Training Institute of Michigan, or HTIM, to help improve attributes and skill sets for those in these industries through a 12-week training and certificate program. Can you talk about the Training Institute, the goals of this training program, and the ways it can help professionals in these industries advance their careers?
Absolutely. So the HTIM would be very similar to our ProStart program. And ProStart is a high school culinary program that helps train this next generation of leaders. That would be more on the restaurant side. But obviously, as we merged and the pandemic hit, we realized that the hotel industry is going to need a similar program. So the goal of the Hospitality Training Institute of Michigan is to train the next generation of leaders in the sort of hotel lodging industry. So it is a 12-week program. It's a certificate. But, it is a pathway to a job and to a career. And there's, the hospitality industry, there's lots of jobs available where you can make a very good living with, a high school diploma or some proper training. But what we really saw during the pandemic was, those employees that were willing to work became de facto managers, became de facto supervisors without the proper training of knowing what it means to lead a team and run a business and then sort of work in this industry. So the goal of HTIM is to train people in order to be able to walk in and then be leaders sort of in this industry and grow. So we have a Midland group going right now. We have a Lansing group going right now. And then we have an online cohort starting in April.
And so, John, if people in the industry would be interested in taking advantage of this training program, how can they get involved?
They can go to our website, and then, Amanda Smith at MRLA is our Executive Vice President of Education and Training, and she would be the best person to talk to if you're interested in getting involved. But we are absolutely looking to grow this program. We've had some very good meetings with legislative leaders and appropriations chairs in Lansing on getting this off the ground. And we think, unfortunately, the workforce that has not come back yet is more than likely never coming back. So, we are now going to have to train and find a whole new generation of leaders in this industry and in this workforce. And we believe between ProStart and HTIM, that will be a very good start to making that happen.
Yeah, great training opportunities available through the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association on their website, mrla.org/training. That is mrla.org/training. You can also find more information across the board from the MRLA on their website, mrla.org. You mentioned the ProStart program also for those younger individuals in the state at the high school level looking to get into the restaurant industry in particular. You last week. You were part of the MRLA's ProStart Culinary Competition that was held in Lansing. Can you talk about that competition and the way that it gives that opportunity, that hands-on experience to these kids that are in the ProStart program to hone their craft, but also get both some judgment, but also advice from professionals in the industry?
Yeah, so ProStart is in about 70 schools. And unfortunately, 2020, it was completely canceled. In 2021, we were able to do portions of it online. So this was our first year back in person. And it is always one of my favorite 2 days of the year. It's a ton of work, but, to watch kids from all over the state come and be able to show their craft and learn skills. But then, as you mentioned, we have executive chefs and have leaders in the industry come and offer them constructive criticisms and way they can grow is just so fun to watch. So we were super excited to be back in person this year. We only had 13 schools, which is a little low, but we were just happy to be back in person. So hopefully next year, all of this is behind us and every single school that is usually here is able to attend, and maybe the program has grown. But, these kids walk out and are ready to work in a restaurant on day one, coming out of high school. So it's an incredible program. We've already gone in and asked for an increase in funding to try to grow this program. But it was so great to see, high school kids be able to be out and be passionate. And those kids work really, really hard. And it means a lot to them that they're able to do this. So it's a wonderful program.
John, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.